Today I want to take you through the KCSE 2020 paper 2. I'll tackle some questions in this paper. I'll start with the question number 2. And the question read that the sum of first two terms of an increasing geometric progression is 20. The sum of the second and the third term of the same GP is 30. Determine the common ratio of the GP. Now here what you are required to do is to know that the terms of a GP, the first term is A. When we talk about second term is AR, third term is AR squared, fourth term is A, R to the power 4, and all that. Fifth term will be A, fifth term will be first term, second term, third term, fourth term. Fourth term is A power 3. And the fifth term is A R power 4, and so on. So we are told that the sum of the first two terms of an increasing geometrical progression, the first two terms, the sum, that's the sum of these two terms, that is A plus AR equals to 30, equals to 20, that is what we are told here. And then we are told that the sum of the second and the third term of the same GP, the second and the third. So the second will be this and this. The second and the third, that is AR plus AR squared will be equal to 30. So these are two equations. These are two equations. Then we are asked to find the ratio. Now we can make, if we make A the subject from, we do by substitution method, we make A the subject from equation 1. That is from equation 1, A equals 2. If I make A the subject, it will be 20 minus, this is 20, you take this other side, it will be AR all over, just 20 minus AR. You get A equals to 20 minus AR. 20 minus AR. That is, if we were to make A the subject. So, there is an A and there is this A. So what we do here, first of all, we can factorize here. We factorize there, we have A into 1 plus R equals to 20. So that we make A the subject, A becomes 20 all over 1 plus R. Now we substitute this, whatever we get in equation 2. So substituting A equals to 20 all over 1 plus R in equation 2. If you substitute in equation 2, whenever we have A, we place this. So we shall have 20 all over 1 plus R into brackets R into times R, that is plus. Here we have 20 all over 1 plus R into brackets R squared. Into brackets R squared, this will be equal to 30. Now what you do here, if you open this bracket, it will be 20R all over 1 plus R, then plus 20R squared all over 1 plus R. This will be equal to 30. Now we find here there is a common factor which is 1 plus R. The LCM is 1 plus R. All this becomes 20R plus 20R squared. This will be equal to 30 all over 1. We can do what we call cross multiplication, this and that. So we shall have 20R squared. We can reorganize this plus 20R equals to 30 into brackets 1 plus R. So here becomes 20R squared plus 20R equals to 30 plus 30R. Like terms together, we arrange this. This becomes a quadratic equation. So this coming here becomes negative 10. That is 20 minus 30 becomes negative 10. And then, negative 10. And for the R, that's a negative 10R. and the negative 30. So we shall have 20 r squared minus 10 r, then 30 becomes minus 30 equals to 0. This forms a quadratic equation. So from here we find r by using formula method. It is minus b. It is minus b. That is minus 10. It becomes positive 10 plus or minus the square root of b squared. That is 10 squared. 10 squared, which is 100. 100. Then because of this negative, obviously we shall be having plus. 4 times 20 times 300. 4 times 20 times 300, you get 2400. 2400 all over 2a. 2 times 20 gives you 40. So that means our r equals to 10 plus or minus. This is the square root of 2500, gives you 50. Square root of 2500 gives you 50 all over 40. So we shall have, if we take the positive one, it will be 50 plus 10, which gives you 60. 50 plus 10 is 60 all over 60 all over. We take the positive one because we are told it's an increasing. It's not a decreasing, but an increasing. Increasing. So if you take negative, that means if you take r to be negative, so that means you are dealing with a decreasing. But if you are dealing with an increasing, you take r to be positive, and therefore you take the one with the positive, which is 10 plus 50, which is 60 over 40, and this gives you r equals to 3 over 2 or 1.5. So that is what you are required to do in that question. You want to take r to be positive because it's increasing. You ignore the negative. So ignore negative. You ignore the negative so that you have r to be positive, which is 3 over 2 or 1.5. The next question is question number 3. I want to do question number 3. Given that the sine of 75 degrees is root of 6 plus root of 2 all over 4, we simplify 1 over sine of 75 degrees. Now this is a side, question on the side. That's a form 3 question. Now in this case, what you are supposed to do, you are given that the sine of 75 is this. What about 1 over sine of 75? So whenever we have sine of 75, replace it with here. So we shall have like 1. It is like 1 divided by, where we have sine of 75, we replace this, divided by root of 6 plus root of 2 all over 4. So this is the same as to say 1 times 4 all over the root of 6 times the root of 2. So, not times, it was plus. All of that. So, this gives you, this is the same as 4 all over the root of 6 plus root of 2. Now, we rationalize the denominator. We rationalize the denominator by multiplying by the conjugate of the denominator in both sides. The conjugate is that you conjugate this one, that is, if it's a positive, you put a minus, if it's a minus, you put a positive. That's what we mean by the conjugate. Then you multiply in the numerator and denominator. So which is equal to 4 times the conjugate, which is, that is 4 into brackets, the conjugate times the conjugate, which is root of 6 minus the root of 2, all over root of 6 plus root of 2 times the root of 6 minus the root of 2. So we understand that this, we open this bracket, it becomes 4. It becomes 4 root 6. 4 root 6 minus 4 root 2 all over. We understand that when we talk about difference of two squares, a squared minus b squared is the same as a plus b into a minus b. And that is the same here, the same idea applied here. So this becomes root of 6 squared minus root of 2 squared. Root of 6 squared is 6 and the root of 2 squared is 2. So it becomes 6 minus 2. So this is the same as 4 root of 6 minus 4 root of 2 all over 4. So you divide by 4 each part, so it becomes 4, the root of 6 over 4 minus 4 root of 2 all over 4. So 4 cancels, it remains, so the answer becomes root of 6 minus root of 2. This becomes the answer. That becomes the answer. So that's how simple the question was. But then for students, it looked difficult, but it was a straightforward question. Question number 8 of the same, the question read that we solve for x given. I have log to base 2 of 9 plus log to base 2 of 5x minus 4 equals to 7. There's an idea in this question that I wanted you to understand, that we have to, in both sides, to rewrite this equation in both sides with the log of base 2. So the 7, we must rewrite it into the log of base 2. And we must remember the concept that log of A is the same as 1. Log of A is the same as 1. And therefore, we need, if we write log 2, if we write log to base 2 of 2 is 1 already, we know. But there is a 7 here, so if there is a 7, meaning using another law of logarithm, we can have this one equals 7 log 2, and we know log 2 is 1, and therefore that is 7. And therefore, if we write this, we will write it in this form. We write it in the form log base 2. So therefore, it will be this one. We can drag this up. It will be log to base 2 9 power half plus log to base 2 5x minus 4, which is equals to the log of base 2 7. 2 power 7, you get it to be 2 power 7, you get it to be, if we do 2 power 7, it's 128. It's 128. And therefore, this is the square root of 9. So it will be equal to the root of log to base 2, the root of 9 is 3, then plus log base 2 of 5x minus 4, which is equal to log base 2 of 128. 2 power 7 is 128. Now we use that laws of logarithm. We know that this is an addition, and therefore it's the same as log base 2, multiplied. Now it's a multiplication. We change it to multiplication, so it is 3 into 5x minus 4. So this is equal to log base 2 of 128. This log base 2 goes. So we open the bracket, it implies that this is 15x. You open that 15x minus 12 equals to 128. So we will have to take 12 on the other side. We shall have 15x equals to 128 plus 12. 128 plus 12 gives you 140. So equals to 140. So we divide by 15, we divide by 15. So therefore our x equals to 9.3333. When you get decimal recurring point, this answer is not marked. This answer is not marked. When you get a recurring decimal, ensure you write in fraction. And therefore, the correct answer was supposed to be 9 and a third. 9 and a third. This was marked, but 9.33 was denied. This one you scored answer 0. If you wrote that, you scored answer 0. So whichever situation where you calculate and find your answer as a recurring decimal, ensure you change that into fraction form. So if it was 9.666, it could be, the answer is 9 and the 2/3. 9.66, the answer could be 9 and the 2/3. 9.33, 9 and a third. So this is the correct answer that was marked. This is the correct answer that was marked. I also like to do two more questions in section A that seemed tricky, but they were not tricky. It's only that students did not take them serious. I want to do number 10, question number 10 of the same. I want to do question number 10 of the same. And the question read, a point P, xy, of coordinate xy, is mapped onto a point P image of coordinate x1, y1 by successive transformations m, 1, 2, -1, 3, followed by n, 1, -1, 1, 2. Determine the single transformation matrix that would map point P image that is x1, y1, on to p x1, y. Now remember, when talk about a matrix, we know that when we say that a matrix, two successive transformations, if we talk about A, B, then that means the first one that will transform the object, you start with B followed by A. So here we are talking about successive transformations M that followed by, so if it is followed M followed by N, so that means if we write it down, it is NM and not MN. And therefore, that means if we multiply NM and find the inverse of it, the inverse of NM, this gives us a single transformation, a single matrix. It gives us a single matrix. So, in simple terms, we understand that you calculate a matrix and its inverse. It gives it turns the object into, the image into original object. It takes the image into original object. The inverse of a matrix turns the image into original object. That is the inverse of matrix. So you can do this way, or you do the inverse of N, then you do the inverse of M, you multiply the two, you get a single matrix. So whichever route you take, you get the same answer. Now what we do, we know N is 1, 1, negative 1, 2, times M. M we know it is 1, negative 1, 2, 3. So we multiply the 2 and get NM first of all. So NM we know it is column times row times column. So it is 1 times 1, which is 1, plus 2, it gives us 3. Then we do the other side, it is negative 1 plus 3. Negative 1 plus 3, it is 2. Then we do the lower row, so it is negative 1 plus 4, it is 3. And then 1 plus 6 is 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. So the single matrix is 3, 2, 3, 7. So this is the single matrix NM. Then we find the inverse of NM. So NM, that is NM matrix inverse. We first of all need to find the determinant. The determinant is this row, that is this diagonal, product of this diagonal, the leading diagonal, minus the product of the other diagonal. So it is 21 minus 6. And this gives you 21 minus 6, you get 15. So we know the inverse, that is an M inverse, it is equals to 1 over determinant, and determinant is 15 into brackets. You interchange this one, so it becomes 7, and you negate this other column, so this is negative 2, and this is negative 3, and now 3 becomes here. So the inverse of that. So that is the inverse. You can open that to have it single. So if you open it, it becomes 7 over 15, and this becomes negative 2 over 15. This becomes negative 3 over 15, and this becomes 3 over 15. So you can have it as that becomes the answer. That becomes the answer. Or if you want to simplify further, you can. But at this point, you score the mark. So that is the single matrix that can transform the image, because this takes the image back to the object. That can transform the image back to the object. So it was simple as that. It was simple as that. That is what was required to do. Then we go to question number 12. I want to do question number 12. The question read that the mean of 6 numbers is calculated. The variations of the numbers from the mean are. So that is the mean of numbers is calculated. Deviations of the numbers from the mean. The deviations of the numbers from the mean are, we have negative 4, 5, negative 3, negative 2, D, and 1. We determine the value of D. and hence find the exact variance of the numbers. So we understand that the deviations of numbers from the mean is 0. That is all you were required to do. That to understand the deviations of the numbers from the sum of deviations. The sum, we know that the sum of deviations from the mean equals to 0. So if you know they equal to 0, that is the deviations from the mean add up to 0. If you know that the deviations from the mean add up to 0, you are done. And therefore this one, we add all of it. It implies that -4 plus 5 plus -3 plus -2 plus d plus 1 equals to 0. So we add all those numbers. If you add them, you get that -9 plus 6 plus d equals to 0. So we shall have this gives you negative, that is, if you put the negatives together, you get -9, and the positives together, you get 6. So -9 plus 6 plus d equals to 0. So this gives you -3 plus d equals to 0. And therefore, if I take the 3 the other side, I remain with it. If I take this the other side, I remain with d equals to 3. So d equals to 3. That is 1 mark there. That's why you want to get a mark, and there is another mark from above because it had 3 marks. Then from there, we are asked to find the variance. What you know is that the summation of those deviations squared, summation of the deviations squared, all over the n, how many they are, the number, it gives you variance. This is equal to variance. It gives you variance. So it means if you were looking for the standard deviation, you find the square root of this. But we are after the variance. So our variance will be equal to, we find the squares of this and the sum. We sum the squares of this. So it is -4 squared plus 5 squared plus -3 squared plus -2 squared plus these 3 squared, then plus 1 squared, all that sum, all over the number, there were 6 of them. So we get the sum, if you add all of them, you get 64. If you add all of these, you get 64 all over 6. 64 over 6, you get 10.666. So if you write 10.67, the answer is wrong, like I said. When you get recurring decimals, you write the answer in fraction form, so the answer becomes 10 and 2/3. 10 and 2/3, that's the variance. So that was the variance, 10 and 2/3. If a student wrote 10.66 or 10.67, you score 0. Because I said, and I repeat, that when you find an answer with recurring decimal, you change that into a fraction. Thank you for listening. I'm going to do more questions on this paper. So I'll start section B, but I'll do some other questions in section A before section B. Thank you for listening, and ensure you